Greetings, I am Michael DeVellis, and this is the Powder Group Conversations with Sarah Rigano on being open. I'm so excited about this program today. It is a perfect time for this program. It is the perfect program for the space and energy we are all in now as we hopefully start to move forward out of this pandemic. So thank you, Sarah, for being with us. Before we get started on this incredibly important and interesting conversation, I want to thank, as I always do, our sponsors for the Powder Group Conversations. Without these 6 brands, we could not be here. It is because of their generous support of our programming and this program in particular that we are able to provide these as complimentary programs for our community. Thank you to Skindinavia, Cinema Secrets, Beekman 1802, Senna Cosmetics, Omnia, and of course, Muse Beauty Pro. Thank you to our sponsors and welcome Sarah Rigano. Hello, my friend.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really, as per always, so honored to chat with you and sit in this community.
Well, we adore our time with you and are very grateful that you are here with us. So this idea, when we talked about this idea of being open, it is a great time for it. There's never, there's never not a good time to be open, right? But this is an especially good time to be open to possibilities, to newness, to getting back to things that we missed. I like to ask sort of really general questions in the beginning of these sessions because I think it helps set the pace. And we know we have about 30 minutes. We could talk about this for hours, but I wanna really get into this idea of what it means to be open. So for you as a healer, as a shaman, what does it mean to be open?
Yeah, I want to second your comment on this being a really opportune time to kind of bring this word, this feeling, this space into the forefront of our consciousness. For those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, we're also in a season of openness. We're in the spring, actually the transition between spring and summer. So we're seeing all of this opening happening around us, whether it's the trees blossoming, the pollen being gifted to you, the birth of new baby animals, there is a momentum towards openness. And that's also being reflected to us as individuals and a society. So, for me, I really think that open takes all shapes and all forms, and it's really up to the comfortability level of the individual. I like to encourage people to be empowered in their journey and really holistic in embracing their own truth. So it will look unique for everybody. But for me, it's really this place of receptivity, of giving myself the space to listen for higher guidance, and also seeking out aligned individuals, aligned community, aligned opportunities that will support me in my growth and my evolution. So it's it's a state of being.
Is there a right way and a wrong way to be open?
Absolutely not. Again, and, in some of the presentations and talks that I've given to this amazing group of creatives, as your art flows through you, that is unique to you. As your creativity flows through you, that is unique to you. So everyone has their own signature sort of way of navigating. And I would encourage people to hone in on what feels right for them with regards to this state of being open. But I would say that there's some general themes that kind of run through. There is a spaciousness to being open. There is room to receive or listen or navigate. And it also can manifest as a passive or an empowered, active action. But throughout the whole thing, it really comes down to choice and empowered choice, which can be super liberating, especially now as we're trying to kind of find new footing and make sense of a lot of the, change and transformation that we're witnessing. And that might sound a little esoteric, but I have a few examples because I love a good example. But, for example, one can be open and listening, right? So you're very present, but you're listening. You can be open and observing. You can be open and waiting. You can be open and resting. You can be open and moving, like you can be in that state of action. You can also be open and like pivoting. Perhaps you have moved forward and you're like, this doesn't feel in resonance anymore. And so you're making that shift. And you can also be open and releasing, an active sense of release in that, like, perhaps there are things that need to go to move to more balanced spaciousness. But each of these are critical. I mean, they're courageous acts. Like any of those things that I just listed are courageous and critical to us as individuals, as creative seekers, humans. And I think it's challenging in our society today because we put so much importance, we've been conditioned to put so much importance on the action, that perhaps we overlook the fact that you can still be really present and resting. You can still be really present and recalibrating. And these can be like critical points of regeneration for you, and most necessary in seeking clarity or sort of the next for your evolution. So.
I want to back up to something you said. This idea of being open and listening, open and observing, open and waiting. It sounded to me, if I'm remembering all of them correctly, they all see. I'm not going to say passive in meaning not positive, meaning not active. Like a lot of these are like it's resting, it's observing, it's listening. Is it a better space to be open in when you are in that sort of a sedentary place and sort of reflective, or can you also be open and active? And I think of this as, I know how hard you work. I know how hard I'm looking at this list of people. These are hustlers who are with us right now, and people who are hustling who are going to be watching this later. And I'm up at 6 and I'm hustling. Like, it feels to me like a little bit meditative and a little bit like pull back, give yourself some time for this openness. Can you be both open while being sedentary and open while being active?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the principle of this, right? Like, I think oftentimes we're conditioned to not give ourselves that space, like, and even just like in this, like, those words like can trigger people in ways where we're like, oh, I'm not doing something if I'm observing. But, if we take it to the natural world, like there is always something happening. There's always a cycle, there's always a season, there's always a birthing, there's always a deathing. And, but there's a undercurrent of like very balanced beingness where, if we're observing and we're contemplating like what our next best step is or what's in our highest alignment, we're giving ourselves a space to be very specific and sort of almost lethal in our like directiveness, where we're not wasting time or energy, like being all spun out, like, what am I supposed to do? Or, how should I be proceeding? It's like, oh, I gave myself that like little extra breath to kind of read the situation, while being open to intuition, guidance, opportunities presenting. And from that place, I am like rested, I'm ready, I'm clear, I have space to receive that. And then I can go for it. And I'm not tired, I'm not out of balance, I'm not spun out. I know that I have the bandwidth. I know that I have like the creativity coming through. And it's sort of a conundrum in a way, but it's think of it as like a breath. But you can also be like very, very active and open and like doing things. And like when you're in that flow and you're aligned, right opportunities show up, right guides show up, right, business opportunities, clients, relationships, because like you're in a really good, solid, grounded, and like empowered place where you can receive that. Yeah, I don't know if that answered.
No, amazingly so. It sounds a little too like, also not too, it sounds a little also like giving yourself permission or saying yes to yourself, and saying, yes to the things that you think maybe you're not supposed to allow yourself, or maybe it's not your time, or it's too, I think a lot of people feel like being open or focusing on themselves are different things, but I think they can be the same. And and equally important. So that's really
So equally important. And it's almost counterintuitive to what we're taught, right? Because and especially, a lot of times creatives are very empathic. We're seers, we feel things very deeply. So a lot of times we're pouring out, we're giving out, whether it's our art or our presence or, just holding space for clients and like the larger global community, as we have been witnessing a lot of very sort of necessary yet traumatic unfoldings that needed to be brought to light over the last like year and a half. But like, if you're not full and you don't have enough capacity in yourself to be in that place and to be in that presence, you're actually pouring out from a place of lack. Like, you're leaving yourself empty. So that's not in alignment with the idea of this being an abundant experience. And like, as you give, you receive. As you receive, you give. And it's this idea of reciprocity and right relationship and balance. And it takes work. It is not easy. Like you'll know when you're out of balance. Those are those days. Well, I mean, like, we started the conversation, right? It's like, and I didn't do this for myself because I was doing this and and it's so easy to get into that cycle. But like that 5 minutes that you gift yourself in the morning, or like that little extra breath, like in between shoots or, set changes, like, take it, get outside, like get the light on you, just like take a breathe. Cause like, we don't gift ourselves that opportunity enough.
You talked a little about this past year, and I think coming out of this year, there's a lot of people who are seeing this idea of opening. Maybe they're not ready. It's like, I'm not ready to get back to things. Like, is there something as in the way of advice you can give to someone who who wants to be more open and who wants to get back? And maybe it's a bad question because it sounds like they're a little bit different, but I think that they align. What do you say to someone who is questioning their ability to be open and ready at this point because they're still afraid?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hate this word, but I'm going to say it because it's been so overused. Like, we have collectively lived through this sort of like unprecedented unfolding, right? And I think, however, it was almost like this way of the universe slowing us down, making us come together and recognize our shared humanity. No one was not susceptible to the pandemic. Like, we were all equal in our humanity, in the feelings that came up, in the experiences that were had, and in this state of pause. But again, there's some that navigated that place in a place of fear, right? And then there's others that move to a place of opportunity, or again, the witnessing of what could come up here for me to kind of see and internalize and reflect on my life, my service, my art, my creativity, my being a good family member, a good neighbor, a good human, And so I think, as the unknown can be scary if we make it so, if we activate it with a place of fear or lack. And those two emotions carry a very specific resonance to them, a very specific vibration. So if we're activating that sort of lower frequency, lower resonance vibration, we will start attracting that to be so, right? We'll have more experiences that inspire fear. We might be attracting more people that are encouraging us in like fearful beliefs. So I have been suggesting to my clients nonstop for the last year, and in my own personal practice, of just trying to come back to a place of heart and grounded, loving kindness. Again, like words that are just like not really written into our, societal DNA. But, from this place, it brings a sense of connection and a sense of peace and a sense of love. And it can kind of like bring us back down to earth versus like out of body in these like fear-based narratives and constructs. But I also think like it's okay not to know how to proceed out of this. It's okay to want to be in this cocoon a little bit longer. And it's this has been a massive recalibration, a massive sort of initiation for us as individuals in a collective, and really bringing up some like primordial issues like fear, our mortality, the grief, grief over loss of life, family members, coworkers, and just even if we haven't been intimately affected, like feeling the collective grief that as a society, so many lives being lost. And there's also grief too around, what we thought we knew as truths. Perhaps that's around, stability in jobs, our economic status, what we also thought to be true in relationships. There's been a lot of shakeup in intimate and business relationships and senses of purpose and place in the world. And, things don't look the same as they did when we entered into this. And that's okay, because, if we think of this as sort of an ability to birth into something new, birth and creation, it gets uncomfortable, it gets messy. And we're in May, the month of the mothers. Any mothers on here can attest to that. I personally do not plan on going that route, but I give you mad props. But, if you birth a creative venture, if you birth the courage to change a career, everything takes courage and some level of uncomfortability. So I think that jumps back to what we were saying of allowing the space to sort of observe how you're feeling, to give yourself rests, pauses, allow yourself to sort of curate your world in a way where if things feel triggering, you kind of like eliminate them from your periphery, so you can just like really focus on what your truth is. And I think being rooted in a sense of possibility is probably one of the most encouraging things that we could do right now, like hope and possibility. Like we will come out to the other side of this.
I want to jump in with a question. I think, a lot of this sounds to me like being vulnerable and being allowing yourself that vulnerability, which is an uncomfortable place for some people. How, in being open, are you able to navigate that potential of feeling like I'm opening too much, I'm allowing in too much?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it comes back to that place of loving kindness again, because if we look around at our communities, if we're offering that to ourselves, we need to offer it to our brothers and sisters around us as well. We need like a space of patience and sort of I keep coming back to the breath, like that space of breath, because everyone's just trying to figure it out. But how incredible if you can source this sense of courage and presence to be open and present and allow that to perhaps inspire others that might be wavering in their courage or their sense of presence.
You have to let down your energetic boundaries to be open. Can you, like, if again, for me as a layman, I think, well, if I'm going to be truly open, again, listen, don't talk, allow everything in, that's being open. But sometimes it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
Are boundaries okay in being open?
I think boundaries are critical at all times. And, I would never encourage anyone to just be like, I'm an open channel, like dump your shit on me. Like, that's like not good. That's like the antithesis of being open. That's like creating a sense of like victimization and like, shared kind of resonance. And it's out of balance. So, know what makes you feel comfortable, like know how you know how you can receive, but also create distance and space if it feels like it is too draining, or know how you can show up in a way where you can test the waters and see if it feels resonant, and always know that you have empowered choice. Always you have permission to say no. You have permission to say, hey, I just don't have the bandwidth right now, but let's circle back around on this. Always at the end of the day, like I said, if you're not able to show up in your fullness, you're not giving your best to anyone else, and you're not bringing your best to a situation. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with boundaries and like recalibration and like righteous vocalization, like speak your truth, embody your truth. So yeah.
I think, tying into the previous question about, getting through this pandemic, finding a way to be open. I think there's a lot of people who feel stuck, like they haven't pushed themselves, they haven't done what they needed to. There's a lot of looking back and saying, what did I do over the last 14 months during pandemic, right? How do you recommend that someone gets unstuck, or if they feel constricted, how do they become unconstricted?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think permission is paramount. A lot of times we can kind of like get in this space of being our own worst critic, our own sort of biggest Debbie Downer, and just like really hammering ourselves for things like not done or not achieved, or, versus giving ourselves the credit for what you did do. And, for some people, it might just be, I got out of bed today, and like, that's good. Or I got through some of my to-do list, but then like I really needed to take a breather, or I didn't book like all the clients I wanted, but I did these 3 clients and I made them like so happy. And, so it's sort of like focusing on what the permission, not of like, I can't or I didn't, but like reframing that to I will, or I am. It's really about the languaging and keeping it in this place of momentum, right? That open state of momentum. And I think, it's also really beneficial to recognize everything as temporary. We have emotions come up, we have feelings come up, we have situations come up, and we get to the other side of it. So I'm not encouraging anyone in any way, shape, or form to bypass, but I'm simply asking and encouraging that we like see where we're channeling our energy and what is really worth it. Where are there really perhaps areas of growth and improvement, and where are you just sort of like getting down on yourself because like you don't have anything better to do? Go outside, take a walk, see the light, like get inspired. And I think really the natural world is probably the greatest teacher. And I sound like a broken record all the time, but I'm like, get outside, get outside. If you're in an urban area, get to a park, sit under a tree, just like feel the light on your face, like see the changing of seasons, like knowing that cycles and shifts happen. We have to just be like, here, I'm here, show me, teach me, like I'm here. It's embracing like active change. But I think there's also just a really worthy mention, especially with it being May and Mental Health Awareness Month, that, sometimes as individuals, like we can really feel stuck and we can really feel insular. And I think it's very critical in those moments for us to reach out for help or seek community or seek practitioners or professionals, licensed professionals that can perhaps help us to navigate these moments where it just doesn't feel like we can see a clear path forward. And if anything that I've been taught over the last few years with my own lived experience with mental health and my family members, it's that there is no stigma, there is no shame, there should be no fear about reaching out and, showing your humanity, because we're all just living the same things. Some people are more vocal about it than others. And so how beautiful when you can get the support you need and, marry that with holistic or wellness practices and just like find that very like balanced place. And that place of open, that whole active openness.
I think I sit here thinking to myself, there's a long list of stuff I need to start doing in a different way, just based on this half an hour discussion. And we talk about these things together. So it's like, I'm like, how am I not doing this yet? And I think that idea again about giving yourself permission, like saying there is time. There is time to give yourself permission to be open. There is time. We all are busy, busier and busier, but
Yeah.
yet we don't take the time for openness. And, there's no growth and development without taking risks. There's no growth and development without pushing yourself and believing in yourself. There's no growth and development without a support system, but there's no growth and development if you're not open. Um, all this talk about being open, though, again, to your point, you don't want us to just take everything in. So when can we be closed? When can we shut down and just let it be us internally and us in this little box?
Well, again, the conundrum, I feel like you can close shop, but still be open to something higher
Okay.
and higher.
Okay.
So, but again, there is the sense of like insular, like your journey can be your own, like your rituals can be your own. You're sleeping an extra 2 hours because you're like bone tired, it can like be your own. And it's in those spaces where, again, we're really not conditioned to be on our own and sort of on these own like little vision quests, as I like to call them. It's because we're supposed to be doing, or we're supposed to be consuming, or we're supposed to be like getting, and it's like, oh, maybe if I just like chill the F out, I might like be able to do more, see more, and get more, because like I've heard, or I've experienced, or I like feel in my gut, like what is in alignment that I'm actually supposed to be doing, seeing, receiving. And, I think, yeah, it's not getting down on ourselves. This last year, I have never needed so much rest as I have this last year. I think, again, coming back to the fact that we are, as humans, we have the beautiful ability to be empathic, to feel. So we are like feeling everything, whether we are consciously doing it or unconsciously doing it. And there needs to be a processing when that happens. So like tapping out of the social media for the weekend, awesome. Like, not like pushing yourself to do the extra 5 things, because like at the end of this life, we're never going to get it all done anyway. So let's just like do the things we're going to do like really well and be really happy with how we showed up, and like bless and release the rest. We've got infinite experiences waiting for us. That's another talk. But, it's like, it's permission. And it's like, just like, hey, like love yourself, like listen to what you need. This might sound trite, but like, it's the best advice that was ever given to me. And, I try to live it as best as possible, but sometimes I have to give myself a real talking to and be like, girl, like, take care of you, like, because then you can't take care of anyone else if you don't.
It doesn't sound trite, and we can't hear it enough, true, honestly. Um, we're coming up on about half an hour, but I want to ask you a really important thing. I think that for our group, our community, we love an action. We love a thing that
Mhm.
you can take away. Do you have any practices, suggestions, anything for people who want to practice openness in their life, something that they can take as an action plan?
Yeah, I would love to do one thing together, and it's a very simple thing. But I think the paramount, and I've mentioned this in talks that we've had together. It's this idea of like expressing to the universe, to the divine, however you choose to perceive this like co-created, beautiful, lived reality. Like, I am here. I am willing. Show me, teach me, like, what do I need to know? Like, how can I be more open? Like, how can I show up in a better way? And I think it's always, we're doing this with like gratitude and wonder with the way it shows up. And I would love for like the takeaway from this to be like, using that I am statement, which is one of the most powerful statements in the universe, the most affirmative statements in the universe, and like writing on a piece of paper, I am open to line. And it's like, what is that for you right now? What are you open to right now? And it doesn't need to be a business plan. Like, a word, one emotion, like keep it simple so that you can just really hone in on like, what does that feel like? That affirmation, where do you feel it on your body? Is there perhaps a movement that comes with it? I'm open to possibility, and I find my hands going like this. And so yeah, okay, in my meditation in the morning or when I'm feeling like Debbie Downer, I'm gonna be like, I'm open to possibility. And it's like a somatic thing where, choose your audience or who you're doing this in from, or don't, and ground this in your body. Like make every cell believe that you are open to this. And, you know, some additional beneficial add-ons to that, it's like, know that you are worthy and deserving to receive what you're open to. Know that you know how to receive it if you make that space for it. And, know that it will arrive in divine right time once you are ready to like embody that frequency. And as long as you're in this place of gratitude, thank you, thank you, thank you, like everything is possible. So yeah, I want to see the words on some follow-up. I
Yeah,
don't know. I want to see what other people are.
if you're okay with it, we could take a few more minutes. I would love our the folks who are with us now live to drop what they're open to. Drop it in the
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
Um,
Because when we
Stacy
can,
said patience. I hear you. I'm gonna drop in. I'm open to change.
yeah, when we can witness it each other as a community, we get to like hold ourselves accountable. Yeah. Change. Cool. More happiness.
Happiness. One was
Beautiful.
change. I think
Yeah.
what's interesting too, Sarah, Brooke, I was reading your
Growth.
mind, my friend. Is I think sometimes people, when you give this as a
All level.
moment,
Yeah. Sorry.
is it something you're open to right now, or something you're pushing yourself to be open to? Right? There's that too.
But get out of your own way.
Yeah.
That would be my best advice. Like trust what comes through in the moment as like, this is what, like, again, if we're in these spaces of quiet and we're not like over analyzing it, like trust the word that comes through. Like you write on the paper or you'll know, like mine was possible. It popped in, like everyone's just popping in and they're like, yeah, I know. So like, but have I really been giving myself that space of openness? Like, have I really been sort of like listening, fine-tuned with that as sort of my like guiding lighthouse, getting to that space.
That's amazing. I love
Yeah.
these words. We're getting
It's
authentic
so good.
growth, peace of mind, possibilities, letting go of heaviness,
Yeah.
open to new perspectives and ways, open to health,
Yeah.
Katie, authenticity, Ashley, open to pushing myself. I mean, these are great. These are great. Change and growth, Lori. It's, I think that I always talk about this idea of permission. I talk about it in my coaching. I talk about it in our 30-day career challenge. Like you've got to give yourself permission. And I think it's an amazing thing to write that there. It's another thing to write on a Post-it note and put it everywhere. So you know that you're open. I am open to change. I am open to change. I am open to change. I'm open to change. But then what I think you also have to do, Sarah, and this, seems logical, but I'm going to say it again. If you're ready to be open to authenticity, you have to be able to release the opposite of that and not go that direction. If you're open to health, you've got to release the things that make you unhealthy. If you're open to change, you've got to allow yourself the fear and the uncertainty that comes with change. So that's not as easy as the word, but it's about starting that process with that word. So you can then figure out, I'm the logistics guy. Like, how do we make it happen, right? Whether I'm producing an event or doing a coaching, it's all, how do we make this result happen? And the result has to come from not looking only in the mirror at yourself and saying, I'm ready, not just the words on a paper or in a chat function, but about coming up with a plan to allow that to happen. Because again, you can't keep going in one direction if you're still going in the other one as well.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts that you
I
want
think
to share with us?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that, right? So like in doing this and in stating this openness to the universe, we're creating a momentum tunnel, right? So we're creating the potentiality of getting to that place, but we will be tested. Like things will show up where, you might have to make the contrary decision to what's comfortable. So again, like this idea of release, clear the chaos from your life, like clear it from your mind, clear it from your body, clear it from your space. Like, again, this idea of like making that space so that it's easier to say yes when these baby steps to the desired outcome show up, you can do it unquestionably. And that even creates even more momentum. So yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling really hopeful to, and community. I mean, my gosh, like in holding this container, like all of this goodness and all of these words and intentions that came out are really, really powerful. So
I
yeah.
think, you know, it's an amazing step and it's an amazing moment. You know, we are in many places, turning the corner and moving toward that light at the end of the tunnel, and having a plan that relies on forward movement continuing versus stepping backwards, as you said, is really important. This has been amazing. I've been making notes, and I'm like, my first note was 15 minutes. And that means that for 15 minutes after I'm done with this session, we're wrapping up now, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to
Good.
come up with this ideology and figure out what I'm open to and how I'm going to get there. So I'm going to challenge all of our folks watching this right now. Give yourself 5 minutes. That 5 minutes that Sarah said, give yourself 5 minutes. Get on the process of being open. It's super important. I'm so grateful. I also, if you're okay with it, I would love to announce that Sarah has very kindly agreed to come back and participate with us at the Artist Summit in
I'm so
October
excited.
in Provincetown. Sarah has become our it's not annual, our biannual participant who is going to be there to help us through our wellness. What an amazing, again, talk about timing as we go into the fall, ready for the winter. We'll at this point be, you know, so many more months into this turning point, hopefully. I'm so grateful that you're going to be with us there. The dates of the Artist Summit, as everyone knows, are October 3rd through 8th. I think it's in October. It'll be online. And I'm so grateful that you're going to be there with us. I call you our favorite wellness guru. And I was going to say shaman, but then I have to say champagne shaman. And then
No, none of that.
no, none of that. Okay. Anyway,
I'm
guys,
just
I just
honestly,
want to say,
I'm so grateful because like I'm just a woman on a journey, and you know, to be able to have these conversations with other like beautiful human spirits like on a journey, this is like where we can be in these shared spaces where it's equal, like everything's equal. Like you have gifts and talents that I don't have. I might have gifts and talents that you don't have. And now is when the world needs all of us coming together as like united in our like shared humanity, our shared beauty, our shared heart, and just like bringing forth our best and like seeing how that inspires the ones around us. It's exciting.
it's exciting, and we're grateful to have you here today with us and to be back with us in October. If not before, we might have some other magical moments together before then.
Okay.
Until then, I want to say thank you, Sarah Rigano. Always, always wonderful to have you with us. I want to thank our sponsors, Scandinavia, Cinema Secrets, Beekman 1802, Senna Cosmetics, Omnia, and Muse Beauty Pro. I am Michael DeVellis. This has been the Powder Group Conversations with Sarah Rigano on Being Open. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Love you guys.